It's green, paper thin, and used to wrap your favorite sushi. Everyone knows what seaweed sheets are. Some of us even like to eat it plain as a snack. And for those of you who prefer your seaweed a little more unprocessed, there are also salads like these. But behind these food products is a much bigger story unfolding here in Indonesia. Often dubbed green gold, seaweed has made the country one of the world's top producers, supporting coastal communities, supplying industries such as cosmetics and pharmaceuticals. Despite its massive potential, the industry still faces major hurdles. Prices that rise and fall with global demand, limited product diversification, and heavy reliance on export of raw materials. In this episode of CNA Correspondent, I take a look at the ins and outs of Indonesia's massive seaweed industry. It's seaweed season. Like clockwork, 37-year-old Salmawati goes out to sea for her daily harvest. Her neighbors consider her lucky, for she secured a cultivation spot in the waters just 50 meters from the shore. Salmawati is one of 3,000 residents of Punaga village in Takalar Regency, majority of whom earn their livelihoods from the sea. Takalar Regency is one of the seaweed industrial areas in South Sulawesi, where seaweed cultivation is spread throughout the sub-districts.
Tahun 2000, Bapak itu kan petani juga, petani rumput laut juga. Tapi harga dulu itu kan masih sangat murah. Dibanding sekarang itu, makanya petani itu di sini rata-rata pekerjaan rumput laut karena perekonomiannya sangat berubah.
For some in the village, cultivating seaweed changed their lives.
Masyarakat sebelumnya masih mempunyai rumah-rumah yang kumuh, tapi dengan adanya budidaya rumput laut ini yang begitu luar biasa, alhamdulillah banyak masyarakat kami yang sudah mempunyai rumah yang begitu indah, bagus, sudah permanen, rumah batu. Bahkan ada beberapa yang sudah dapat membeli kendaraan roda 4, ada yang membeli mobil, dan itu banyak, itu sudah puluhan.
Cultivation here is laborious. A good season can turn 10 kilograms of seedlings into a harvest of 70 kilograms, while a poor season could churn out as little as 3 kilograms. Attaching the seedlings onto a cultivation rope like this can take hours or days. Here, it takes 10 hours to attach 1 ton of seedlings. Seeded ropes are suspended from floats anchored in the water, creating a vertical farm that maximizes space and uses the entire water column for growth. While seaweed is accessible, fast-growing, and relatively easy to cultivate, maintaining standards and high-quality harvests can be challenging. To overcome this and encourage best practices, under directives from the government, extension workers are allocated and tasked with providing assistance to their corresponding communities. Rina Ariana Amir is a fisheries extension worker. She facilitates information, technology, market access, and even capital and government assistance, among other areas.
Di sini petani pakai semua aja. Padahal itu ada bagian yang disarankan untuk digunakan sebagai bibit. Kemudian yang jarak tanamnya, jarak antar bentangan rumput laut yang dari segi itu sih sama mutu rumput lautnya. Karena kedepannya ini rencananya kami dari penyuluh bagaimana supaya ini setiap kelompok binaan kami juga ada memiliki sertifikat CBIB namanya. Cara budidaya rumput laut yang baik. Jadi ada standar mutu yang bisa diaplikasikan di kelompok.
NC Jaya links small producers with larger markets and industries, and as the middleman, he even provides farmers with funds to buy seedlings for cultivation. While supply is abundant, prices are unstable and heavily depend on global demand. Indonesia's seaweed production in 2024 was recorded at 10.80 million tons, with over 4 million tons coming from South Sulawesi alone. China is Indonesia's top seaweed buyer, especially for raw seaweed in its dried form. So much so that one of China's largest seaweed processing companies, BLG, has a processing factory in South Sulawesi.
3 tahun yang lalu itu kata bos lah di bawah kan, ada 7 negara yang minta. Nah, itu pun pengirimannya langsung keluar. Kalau sekarang hanya Cina. Kebanyakan dikirim ke BLG pabrik di Pinrang. Nah, itu jadi kendalanya di situ, Bu, karena kurang permintaan dari luar, makanya harga nggak stabil.
Indonesia also exports carrageenan, which is seaweed processed into a powdery form. It is a gelling, thickening, and stabilizing agent, used in food, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals. As a leading exporter of carrageenan, accounting for over 30% of global export value, China looks to capture a higher market value from Indonesia's raw material exports. South Sulawesi, meanwhile, is hoping to develop its own processing capabilities for greater sustainability and profit.
Jadi selama ini kalau dengan raw material itu kan selalu ya kita tidak ada added value-nya. Nah, kalau kita bisa olah sendiri, termasuk yang carrageenan itu sampai kepada industri untuk farmasinya, kemudian untuk kebutuhan-kebutuhan yang lain, saya kira itu akan memberikan added value bagi Sulsel.
Efforts are underway to enhance sustainability, with the aim to move beyond raw exports and build a fully integrated seaweed sector. Coming up next, we take a look at whether over-reliance risks exposing vulnerabilities of Indonesia's green gold. Sites like these are common on the coastlines of Takalar Regency, one of the seaweed industrial areas in South Sulawesi, Indonesia's top seaweed-producing province. Often referred to as green gold, seaweed is one of Indonesia's leading commodities. The booming industry generated more than $260 million in exports from January to October last year, and more than 80% of that harvest went to China, its top market for the past decade.
Kalau untuk rumput laut saat ini yang masih dominan itu ke Cina ya, ke Tiongkok. Di Takalar ada satu pabriknya itu, tapi dia mungkin medium scale industrinya. Tapi yang paling terbesar itu ada di Pinrang. Dan itu juga penanaman modal asing. Kalau yang di Takalar itu penanaman modal dalam negeri. Yang di Pinrang itu biasanya karena ini PMA, itu dibawa ke Cina. Nah, termasuknya di Cina juga ada pabrik juga di sana ya. Jadi ada 2 ekspor kita itu, ada yang dalam bentuk sudah tepung, carrageenan, kemudian ada juga yang masih dalam bentuk raw material.
This local warehouse exports dried seaweed to countries such as China, Vietnam, Philippines, Chile, and Spain. But 90% of its stocks go to China.
Sebenarnya tantangan terbesar yang di kami itu sebenarnya dari masalah harga. Soalnya kan kalau rumput itu fluktuatif kan dia harganya. Terus bahan baku yang memang berkualitas. Jadi kan terkadang kita butuhnya bahan baku yang berkualitas tinggi agar supaya cost kita nggak bertambah untuk mau prosesnya lagi. Jadi itu yang masih tantangannya. Terus untuk lagi dari segi penjualan memang saat ini kita ingin berharap bukan China juga yang kita supply.
Diversifying markets is exactly what this carrageenan processing factory is doing. They regularly ship to Chile and Spain and are currently exploring the UK market. Selling to a wider range of countries also help these businesses lower the risks that come with over-reliance and increases competitiveness on the global market.
Kami mengusahakan membuka pasar yang lain, terutama ke Eropa. Alasannya ya kurang lebih supaya di samping harga memang tentunya beda ya. Harga yang ke China dengan ke Eropa tentunya berbeda. Eropa mungkin lebih sedikit agak menarik dibandingkan China karena memang kami tahu persis kalau di China kan banyak pabrik yang sejenis, tentunya harga tentu bersaing juga.
While Indonesia supplies the raw material, China has been leading the global processing sector for the past 20 years. A dominance that's evident in South Sulawesi, where Chinese manufacturer BLG built a factory to produce seaweed byproducts such as carrageenan. Carrageenan is a gelling, thickening, and stabilizing agent. Extracted from red seaweed, it is used in food, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals. Seaweed processing factories typically have labs like this. Prior to being processed into carrageenan, the seaweed must be tested for viscosity, gel strength, pH level, and moisture content. Food-grade carrageenan must also be tested for its total plaque count. Industry players say limited investment in research and development is a key reason Indonesia's seaweed industry lags behind processing powerhouses such as China and Japan.
Kekurangan di kami di industri dalam negeri itu alokasi R&D sangat kecil. Sangat kecil. Jadi mungkin karena base-nya awalnya dari pedagang ya, terus masuk ke industri. Sangat berbeda. Saya hampir tiap tahun sebelum COVID itu boleh dikata keliling ke teman-teman, ya termasuk di kantor pusat di ILJI. Saya melihat lab-nya, segala rupa penelitian mereka. Jadi mereka mengambil produk-produk yang ada di pasaran, kemudian membentuk grup-grup kecil, itu ada diteliti bagaimana supaya produk itu bisa masuk, terformulasi di produk tersebut, baik makanan maupun minuman. Di Jepang juga sama.
According to authorities, barely 12% of Indonesia's total seaweed cultivation potential has been utilized so far, and Indonesia is looking to significantly develop this. Indonesia's Investment and Downstreaming Ministry is developing a program for the marine sector, particularly seaweed. This includes plans to build agar and carrageenan processing facilities close to supply hubs. The hope is that this will streamline the logistics chain and empower seaweed farmers while modernizing supply, promoting sustainability and continuity.
For seaweed, actually, Indonesia, we are the second largest producer of seaweed in the world. But if we are talking about tropical seaweed, then we are the number one. So now we are going to do a downstreaming in seaweed. I think they're also very promising, since also it will involve a lot of smallholders, a lot of farmers in Indonesia. So again, now we are also pushing to have downstream industry in seaweed.
To demonstrate its commitment, Indonesia broke ground earlier this year on the International Tropical Seaweed Research Center in West Nusa Tenggara. Beyond serving as a laboratory, it aims to support efforts to move Indonesia up the value chain, from raw material producer to developer of value-added products. According to a report, the global market for non-hydrocolloid seaweed products, such as biostimulants and animal feed, has significant potential. With a projected value of over $4 billion in 2024, it is predicted to grow to more than $12 billion by 2034. As Indonesia looks to maximize the potential of its fast-growing seaweed industry, those in the business say more needs to be done if Indonesia is to effectively compete and succeed on the global stage.
Pandangan kami, industri rumput laut sebuah langkah menarik sebenarnya, apalagi dengan isu hilirisasi dari pemerintah. Hanya saja memang bagaimana bangunan ekosistem ini bisa menjadi terkoneksi antara satu fase dengan fase yang lain.
With the global economic value estimated at around $12 billion annually, the seaweed industry is only expected to grow. Coming up next, we take a look at efforts to move away from the use of single-use plastic in seaweed cultivation. Ruslan has been a seaweed farmer for over 2 decades. In fact, he says he was the first person here in Burau Pantai village to have become a seaweed farmer. He's cultivating his seaweed using the longline method this morning. Seaweed fragments function as seedlings and are attached to the main ropes. Then, suspended from buoys anchored in the water, this creates a vertical farm that maximizes space and uses the entire water column for growth. The water column maximizes sunlight and nutrients, generally improving growth rates and lowering pest risk. Ruslan maintains his seaweed by cleaning, regular monitoring, and ensuring proper water flow and sunlight. While the longline method is efficient for growth, in Indonesia's major seaweed-producing regions, the industry often relies on single-use plastic bottles like these for buoyancy to hold up cultivation lines. Seaweed seedlings are tied just below the surface of the water, while the single-use plastic bottles are also tied to the long lines to ensure that the seedlings float on the water column, keeping them from drowning. But things are slowly changing in Indonesia, starting here in South Sulawesi. The local government is moving to replace single-use plastic buoys with eco-friendly ones as part of a campaign to cultivate environmentally friendly seaweed. Plastic bottles degrade quickly in the sun and salt water, resulting in microplastic pollution, the particles often adhering to the seaweed. This waste also ends up in local marine environments. While some studies have indicated that off-bottom methods may sometimes yield better results in specific locations, the longline method remains a popular choice, and authorities are slowly swapping out single-use plastic bottles for a better option. I'm surrounded by plastic bottles that seaweed farmers use as buoys to keep their seed lines at optimal depths. But these ones are more durable, can be used in several harvest cycles, and can still be recycled when no longer in function. This is part of a pilot project by the government, and Ruslan is among the first batch of seaweed farmers to receive buoys made of high-density polyethylene, a type of thermoplastic known for its high strength-to-density ratio, resistance to chemicals, and most importantly, is recyclable.
Paling bagus lah istilahnya. Kenapa? Terutama ketahanannya bisa, sedangkan pelampung biasa itu bisa 2 kali panen, 1 kali panen, hancur lagi. Sedangkan itu bisa tahunan kalanya. Kedua, tidak terputar di bentangan. Kalau di laut, karena ombak terputar. Tidak dia ini, bagusnya tidak terputar. Jadi istilahnya lebih menguntungkan lah ini, sayang sedikit.
Authorities are looking to strengthen downstreaming in the seaweed industry and support the welfare of coastal communities. The new buoys are part of a campaign to cultivate environmentally friendly seaweed for a more sustainable future.
Setelah itu masa waktunya akan habis, maka kita bisa ganti lagi. Dia bisa mengganti, di-recycle lagi. Sebetulnya ini bukan hanya sekedar mengganti, tapi yang paling penting itu adalah transformasi knowledge kepada mereka bahwa plastik itu adalah pencemar di laut yang mereka harus kurangi.
Here in Burau Pantai village, approximately 300 farmers cultivate seaweed, and 50 of them have received the most sustainable buoys as part of the government's pilot program.
Setelah bantuan ini turun, botol pelampung ini, artinya masyarakat antusias untuk memakainya. Karena kenapa? Termasuk tritip, dia tidak terlalu melengket di botol ini, botol yang produk yang baru ini. Dibanding dengan limbah mineral, air mineral, itu banyak dihinggapi oleh tritip, sehingga menyusahkan kembali ke pelaku utama.
Given that seaweed development is still in its early stages and is considered by many to be a relatively new commodity, environmentalists say there needs to be a lot of improvement in its cultivation.
Penting juga misalnya mengajak masyarakat atau petani itu untuk berdiskusi kira-kira jalan keluar atau alternatif lain penggunaan botol plastik itu apa baiknya. Karena saya meyakini beberapa daerah atau petani-petani di Sulsel ini, rumput laut itu itu pasti memiliki atau punya alternatif tersendiri. Mungkin saja misalnya dengan menggunakan sandal bekas atau batok kelapa.
The Timur Laut Foundation is a non-profit initiative established to uplift coastal communities and empower artisanal coastal farmers. According to the NGO, one seaweed farmer on average uses 4,500 600 milliliter sized PET plastic water bottles for every seaweed cultivation cycle of 45 days. Without local waste banks and proper management, the plastic bottles end up on shore once the seaweed cultivation cycle ends. Waste dumping also worsens plastic waste mismanagement, leading to larger landfills and burning. One way they're helping to tackle the issue is through waste banks such as this one, where various plastics, including the bottles used by seaweed farmers, are processed and shredded. Up to 600 kilograms of single-use plastic bottles are shredded per day. That's thousands of bottles, and there's an added incentive for farmers too.
Tempat lingkungan bersih dan menghasilkan juga uang.
Bagaimana menghasilkan uang?
Dia simpan itu botol-botolnya, baru ditimbang, selesai ditimbang dibayar 1.500 per kilo.
Other programs by the NGO include floater replacement and modernizing seaweed farming. Optimal seaweed production requires a healthy supply of good seeds to ensure best practices, and authorities say they're also exploring options in creating seaweed nurseries. While funding is a major issue that still needs to be overcome, Indonesia is certainly moving in the right direction with its efforts.